Welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about leadership in a boutique retail setting, right? So, what does that mean? We're talking about wireless, we're talking about AV, appliances, furniture, pretty much anything outside of your traditional big box retail, where really it's not just the product, the physical products that we're selling, but it's also the services, more importantly, the services that come with it that are really the business that we're in. All right, so we're a little bit of a unique intermix between products and services. Okay, and so and oftentimes we're not working with very large teams. We're working with people that need a little bit more specialized skill set. And as a leader, you're often just thrown in the midst of the fire and you're trying to figure things out. And you're trying to also make sure that your team is doing things. And you often feel that you're getting burnt out, that you don't have support, that you just can't find people that either want to work or that can do what you need them to do. And here's the thing, you're not going to find them. You need to develop them. And that's the missing piece that's going to solve your headache. And it's also going to help the organization grow and really maintain something that can evolve and develop over time. Because when you're trying to scale, the churning and burning of employees, that's not scalable. That's actually the number one reason why businesses fail. And it's also the reason why when companies need to cut labor costs or cut costs down, they go after the labor cost because they think cutting down on labor is going to be the most important thing. But then they end up losing people that are actually tenured, that know what the fuck they're doing. And they wonder why now that they've done that, their numbers are hurting. They're in a worse position than they were before. Focus on your people, develop them, and you're going to see how not only will they grow and flourish, but the organization as a whole is going to be able to grow and flourish as well. Now, today, we're going to talk about you as a leader, okay? And making sure your team doesn't have a dependency on you. And what does that mean? Okay? So, if you're wondering why sales drop when you leave a location, whether it's, to go out to meetings, to do your rounds, things like that to other locations. Whenever you visit a location, numbers increase, but when you leave, numbers decrease. You don't have a team, you have a dependency, and that's going to be a very big issue. Okay, so it just means that your presence is the plan, that's the performance. Your team performs more when you're there because maybe they feel like they're walking on pins and needles, maybe they feel like they're walking on eggshells. It doesn't matter the reason why. Okay, but you don't have a team that you can depend on to get things done. You're a crutch to the organization, you're a crutch to the team because numbers tank the moment you're not there on the floor. And it's not traffic that's the issue. It's not the type of people walking in the store. There's no difference between when you walk in and are there at a location and when you're not there. It's the team doesn't have a system. You're not developing a system. So if you feel that, yeah, I need to always be doing my visits, I need to stay late because my team doesn't perform if I'm not there. No. You're not developing a system. You're making your team worse by doing that. Okay? And we're going to talk about kind of a three-shift test and like a rhythm that you can go really focus on to help your teams perform, your stores perform, whether you're there or you're not, right? Um, and you can use a couple different things to be able to help you with this, right? So download the 15-minute framework if you haven't already. It's a PDF. It's going to be an easy tool to use, and it's going to help you get this aligned even better. But first, let's go ahead and diagnose the issue, okay? Let's talk about the three-shift test. What does that mean? Well, look at it this way. In 3 shifts, go ahead and take a look at the performance when you're on the floor. Then on the second shift, take a look at the performance when you're, somewhere in the back, not on the sales floor. And then on the third, take a look at the performance, what that's like when you're not on site at all. It could be on a day off. It could be when you're visiting your other locations. It doesn't matter. If the variance between those locations or between those times, right, those dates, those shifts, is more than 15% off, you on the floor is going to be your control, right? So if the other days when you're not there, if that performance is lower than 15%, right, or there's a greater difference, more than 15%, then you likely don't have a system in place. And you're going to probably come after me and be like, hey, but, some days are better than other days. Yeah, adjust for that. We have historical data that shows foot traffic patterns. So you can see how much foot traffic compares. And you should have like an idea of what average foot traffics look like for each day, right? You should have something tracking that. If you're still on the old school, yeah, we just, we try to keep count of people walking in, man. No. Okay, get with the times. There's a lot of different services that are out there that can track the number of foot traffic that you have coming in that are actually pretty accurate. Okay, so use them because that's going to be a metric that you need to really track. I'm talking to you, so proprietors, the people that are working the business and in the business. If you're not tracking that foot traffic, you're hurting yourself more than you can imagine. Okay, but you need to track that because you need to know what that variance is. If you see that there's a bigger dip when you're not there, yeah, you know that you are the system. You are the reason they're selling. And that's a bad thing because that means you can't take days off. That means you're constantly getting bombarded by calls and messages. That means you can't actually enjoy life outside of work because the team's never going to perform when you're there at the level you expect them to perform. And that's not their fault. That's you as a leader, you as an organization that needs to get that corrected, right? Uh, and there's a lot of different things that you can do, but we're going to focus on one aspect. And that aspect is going to be first, track their greeting rate, track how they're greeting people when they walk in the door. It doesn't matter if everybody's busy. If everybody's busy, are they acknowledging them, letting them know, hey, welcome. As soon as we get freed up, we'll be right with you. It's just going to be a bit of a wait. Okay. Are they even doing that? What does it look like when they actually greet a customer, how they talk to them, how they approach? Are they like, hey, welcome. What are you in here for? Right. Are they like, what does that look like? Once you get an idea of that, like work on correcting the greet to make sure it's a better greeting that they had before. Because that's the start of the report. We know that. That's the start of the discovery phases. The next is going to be actually looking at the discovery depth. What kind of discovery questions are they asking? Are they actually asking questions and waiting for the person to answer and listening? Or are they putting something out there and then trying to stuff something into the customer's mouth? Right? Oh, hey, have you bought this yet? Have you got this yet? Have you got this yet? Have you got... Instead of like, that's a simple yes or no question. Customer doesn't fucking care, right? Are they asking the right questions? Are they listening? Are they letting that story come out of the customer, of that client, so that we can get a better understanding, so that we can see if there's anything else that we can actually potentially offer them that's gonna solve the issues that they have that they didn't know we actually offered. You would be surprised how often that can be a very simple thing, which leads to the next thing, which is the offer rate. Are they even offering? How often are they offering something? Are they offering it once and that's done? Are they offering it multiple times? Are they offering other solutions that can also increase different attach rates? The thing is, you can't do this all at once. You can't be like, okay, we're going to work on your greeting, on your rapport building, on your offer. You can't do that all in one sitting. It's not realistic. It's too much at once. You need to pick one thing and focus on that and really get into it. At most, it would be 3 action items that you want to do, but you only want to focus on one thing to improve and then pick 3 action items on for that one item that's going to help you. And you're going to see how big of a difference that's going to be. But it's all coaching. It's all type of role playing that you're going to be doing. Remember, visualization is a bigger aspect of what we do compared to actually doing role plays, especially if you're not into doing role play sessions where somebody acts as a customer, the other person acts as a seller in a realistic scenario. None of those, once in a blue fucking moon where it's the toughest customer in the world that's never going to buy shit. We don't care about those. We don't see those very often. They don't come here very often. I want to see the ones that we see the most. And those are the interactions we're going to focus on the most. Okay? Because once they get better at that, that's their baseline, then we can work on the other ones that come in every so often and get better there. But when they get better at the ones that are consistently coming in, that's 60% of the foot traffic that's coming in or calling in, then they can get better at the other ones that aren't as readily available or shown, and then get better at closing those. Okay? But we got to focus on one thing first. And then from there, you can do other things too that are going to help out, right? Having them essentially take the role of a trainer, right? Coach the coach. They become better at what they do in sales wise by teaching other people how to do things too. This is also why you want to become a teacher in this setting. You want to help them become that teacher so that they can learn. And they're going to also have to learn a little bit of humility, which is going to help them take that role down so they're not trying to stuff words into a customer's mouth and not let him talk. We know the 20-80 rule. We do 20% of the talking, typically asking questions, and the customer does 80% of the talking. They're the ones giving us all the information we need. And then that we can assist them. But if we don't know the story, if we don't know what's going on, maybe what we offer isn't the full solution because there's a lot more missing. And you'd be surprised. You can turn, a $2,000-$3,000 ticket into a $15,000-$30,000 ticket. You'd be surprised how often that can happen. But you have to ask the right questions because you don't know what you're missing. Okay. From there, we want to make sure that our people are constantly becoming better and developed. Because you, as a leader, if you have only one person on your team that's accounting for 20 to 30% of the performance or more of that, you have an issue because the moment that they decide to go on vacation or they're burnt out and they quit on you, what are you going to do? This is why it's important to develop the rest of the team. I don't care about one person that sells 100 metric or 100 units of something if their metrics aren't on par. I'd rather have somebody who's consistent seller, who's mid tier, but their metrics are on par. Because those 100 units that don't have the metrics aren't worth much to me because those are going to churn a lot more compared to a mid tier seller who's selling, but their metrics are on point because that means their customers are stickier. So maybe the first 1 or 2 years, they may not be the top, but those are going to stay a lot longer, and watch them in years 2 to 5 and see how great they become because their customers, their client base is sticky. They're coming back for more. And they're coming back to that one individual because that one individual is taking time with them. And that's where you as a leader need to understand that the development process is not a 1 month and it's done. It is a longer period. But we can help develop them so that month to month they're consistently getting better. But we also have to be realistic about the kind of experiences we need to expect when we're trying to develop our people, right? And if you're wondering how your team does when you're not there, secret shop. Obviously, they know who you are. But somebody they've never met that you know that might be close to that location, might live close, just ask them, hey, if you ever get a chance, just swing by, right? Take a look. I just want to see how the team does. And I'd love to hear your input. You'd be surprised, okay? But this is going to be important because you don't want to constantly be the hero. You don't want to be the hero leader that's jumping in to solve everything. You need to be more the guide, the mentor to help your team become better at what they're doing. They need to develop that process, and it takes practice and time. Time, okay? That is very important. You don't master things in one day. You master them over time so that it becomes consistent. It's like working out. You don't go to the gym fucking one time and then expect to get ripped and lose a bunch of muscle or gain a bunch of muscle, lose a bunch of weight. It doesn't happen like that. It happens over a period of time. And typically by 90 days, that's when you start to see real results. You'll see something within the first, 2 weeks to 4 weeks, right? The first 15 to 30 days. But it's not a lot. To you it is because you notice the difference. But once you get that 60 and 90-day period, that's when you're going to start seeing a lot. And you're going to see that difference. All right. Now from there, you need to have like some kind of rhythm that's going to help you move forward. I'm personal to this. The 15-minute coaching framework, obviously I've been using it for years. I talk about it consistently, but it's a simple process, right? Pick one thing, one goal that you want to focus on. Pick 3 action items that you're going to do to help you get that, and then have your commitment to what you're going to do to make sure that happens. It's as simple as that. It's the psychology behind it that makes it so impactful and actually makes it something that's going to stick and be continuous. Because guys, stop trying to motivate your team to perform. Motivation comes after the performance. When you motivate first and they don't see those quick results, quick wins, the motivation dies down, so the performance does not continue. But when you train and develop your people and they start to see those wins based on what you've been training and developing them on, right? That performance now motivates them to want to do more. So that cycle continues. Motivation does not beget the action. Action begets the motivation. And that's where a lot of people have it ass backwards because they're trying to motivate to get performance, but they don't give them the base foundation. It's like you're trying to set a house on a fucking foundation of cement that's barely even been poured and wondering why things are lopsided, why things are, it's terrible, why the building isn't staying up and all of this. Because you haven't even set the cement. You haven't even let the foundation fully set in. The training and development sets the foundation, and then we can build from there. But you have to have that, okay? And the framework forces you to do that. And especially since you have to physically write it down, there's a psychology behind writing things down that people don't truly utilize. I get it. I do a lot of things digitally. Writing things down is still one of the most foundational psychological things that you can do. And I'm not even talking digitally, I'm talking pen and paper is still king when it comes to this. Okay, I'm sure things will change, but it's going to take a while before that happens. Pen and paper is still one of your best friends for this. As old school as it may seem, I get it, I understand it. Uh, and then, right, so do that. And then have them run it with each other, right? Yes, you're doing it as a leader. Have your other store leaders, have your other sellers also do those sessions with each other so that they can get a better idea, because it also trains them to learn to shut up, to let the other person talk the majority of the time. And then that's something that they can utilize when they're meeting with customers, when they're meeting with clients. It's as simple as that, right? And it allows them to really take ownership of what they're doing. So it's super important to do this. And then you can do other things like, right, have, a visual type of scorecard if you don't have one. And it's super important because then you can, really talk about it and show them the differences. Now they can see the numbers. Just because things are on an Excel sheet, right, on a BI report doesn't mean that your team truly knows how to read it. It's super important for them to see it because having that information makes things easier for them to truly understand and grasp and want to become better, because they also see how the training and development is making them better. And once again, it goes back to that motivation. It's a habit loop, right? They're taking the action, they're getting the reward, it's dopamine hit. And that reward they want to continue that. So they keep doing it. And that's where we do it. Okay. That's where we become much, much better at this. Now, uh, if you as a leader are still constantly jumping in to save the sales, if you're still the one constantly trying to push the metrics, everything falls on you. And that's not what you want. What you want to be able to do is not have to worry about that. Know that your team can do and perform without you. And you'd be surprised how fast your team can do this and latch onto this if you start putting emphasis on training and developing them and letting them know, my focus is I want you to become better. I'm selfish. As your sales leader, I want you to become better because when you're better, I make more money, you make more money. That's one way to talk about it. I never shy away from that conversation for my sellers because I tell them the more money you make, ultimately it's the more I make. As long as the KPIs are there, that's what I'm also going to make off of. Okay. So I'm invested in making sure that you are trained and developed and are actually winning, that you are actually performing. I don't just say that. I'm going to invest my time and energy to make sure you do it. I'm going to be a resource to get you there. Then when they start seeing the actions that they've been training on, they've been working on, create the results, and like, oh wow, this is not as hard. It's very easy. Boom, motivation. And then they just keep that loop because that dopamine hit. So they want to do more. And then they start seeing the results when they start getting their commission checks or bonuses. Like, oh snap, let's do more. Let's do more. And that's how you get there, right? So if you're thinking in your head, but Omar, I don't have time. I don't have 15 minutes of my day to spend on, doing quick coaching sessions. You do. Stop bullshitting. You do. If you're spending more than 15 minutes on fire drills because performance isn't up, you have more than enough time. It is that simple. Okay? So when you focus on that, you're going to notice another thing. The amount of fire drills you have to do goes down because performance is up, because your team is invested in wanting to become better. So now, even though they can perform at 60, maybe 70% of your capacity, you have multiple people that can do that. So you've multiplied your efforts 3, 4-fold by training and developing other people so that you don't have to be fully involved in that aspect, and you can focus on other growth aspects. You can focus on other aspects of the business. This is why training and developing is so important. And if you're thinking, well, my team's not into this, I've tried other things, they're not going to buy into it. First things first, you as a leader have to believe in this and buy into it. You have to do it. That's the only way you're going to buy into it, is by actually taking the actions and doing it. And your team, have one person that you know would be a good person to try this out on. Maybe they're open to ideas, open to trying new things. Have them be the first follower. The moment that they start seeing it and they see that, oh, he's being real, they're being legit about this, they're going to consistently do this. Then you do it and you scale it to the another person. Boom. And then you get those buy-ins. And when they start seeing the results from the training, from the development, they will continue to do it. They're not going to shy away from it. They're not going to be like, oh man, it's a coaching session. Am I going to get written up? No, they understand, okay, it's a coaching session. We got to focus on this. I want to become better. This is what I want to focus on. This is what I'm going to do to get there. This is my commitment. Boom. It is that easy. Now, habits stick because they're writing things down, they're verbalizing it, they're making an outward commitment. There's a psychology behind it. It's a visualization practice, and it's a form of ownership that you haven't given them before, that nobody's given them before. And once again, you have to be realistic about the type of improvements that you're going to see. Can you see 100% improvement within 30 days? It's possible. It's not realistic. Realistically, I'd say a 10 to 20% improvement within a 30-day period is freaking amazing. And that second month, that 10% improvement, when you take it in compared to the first month, is more than a 10% improvement. Okay, so a 10% 1 month and a 10% improvement in the second month is not a 10% average improvement when it comes to the actual units moved or the metrics hit. It's much higher than that. Okay, but that's the important thing. You'll start seeing that, and you'll see better performance. Okay, oftentimes, guys, a lot of your sellers, they only need a 10 to 20% boost to really become, an A seller, even a B seller. And then they're going to continue to become better over time because they want to get there. They want to perform. And they see that you as a leader are also giving them the tools and giving them the resources and the backing to become better. And boom, you're going to see that it becomes such an amazing thing. But this is also where you want to make sure that you're taking time where you have that rhythm. If they're your top sellers, do the coaching sessions twice a month, once at the beginning, once, mid, end of month. Do those coaching sessions. They still want some kind of feedback on their performance. Okay. Maybe they can share some information as well. Your B players, your mid-tier players, do it 2 to 4 times, right? Once in beginning, another time mid-month, and then kind of sometime in between. Your new hires and your low performance employees, you need to be doing it more, right? I'd say realistically, multiple times a week is going to be your best option there. Why? Because they're going to get that immediate feedback, and we can work, and they can let us know what they see, what they're seeing isn't working, what is working, and then go from there. And I kid you not, within a 45-day period, you're not going to have to be doing it consistently on a weekly basis with them because their performance is going to improve. Remember, performance coaching sessions are not write-ups. Okay? Stop treating them like fucking write-ups. They're not write-ups. Your team's going to know the difference, and they see that, they're going to love it because their performance is going to be freaking amazing. Now, you have to understand, you do not want to be the hero that's constantly jumping in to save your team. You want to be the mentor, the guy that's developing, showing your team how to do things so that they can do it themselves, so that they can become the heroes. They can be the one that saved the day because they closed that monster deal, that saved the quarter because they did this freaking amazing thing, that jump started, the month or the quarter or the year with this amazing deal that they've been working on because they've had somebody who's consistently been in their corner, guided them, trained them, developed them so that they can be able to take the reins and they can take ownership of what they're doing. And you're going to see how big of an impact that makes for your team's performance. So be the guide, be the mentor. And if you need something to help boost you there, grab the link in the description. It's going to be the coaching framework, the 15-minute coaching framework. And also sign up for the newsletter, right? If you've done the framework or you haven't yet, but you're still wondering, join the newsletter. I send out weekly recaps on the podcast episodes with action items. So you can watch the podcast episodes. You can grab the recaps, right? You can skim through it or you can grab the full video transcript. It's all there for you, okay? Join the community. Do not let it go because it's a huge improvement that you're going to see from your team, especially when things seem slow down, wherever the case is, it's going to make an important impact, right? So don't forget that. And guys, don't forget, hit and like that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Your support means a lot. Once again, guys, I want to say thank you for jumping into another episode here at Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.